In the year of our Lord, 1701, the Republic of Venice went to war with the sovereign monarchy of Ralston. This war was over passage rights through the Adriatic Sea, though this point will rarely be brought up when the war is discussed by future historians. It was, like most wars, overstretched and too costly. Neither side could afford it, nor would they back down. Many lives were lost, and whatever the outcome, each nation would nurse its wounds for some time. The war raged on for 6 years, draining both countries' resources, but the Republic of Venice was older than Ralston and had deeper pockets. In a war of attrition, they would win, and both sides knew it. 3 generals from Ralston, 2 brothers and a close friend, came together to strategize, and came up with nothing. They would not win this war. In desperation, one reached out to a dark power and was told to make pilgrimage to Golgotha. With no other avenue, they spent 1 month sailing to the walls of Jerusalem, where they docked under cover of darkness. On the hill where the man named Jesus died, they met a figure, too old to identify as man or woman. It offered them a book, an already ancient thing made of pale leathers and filled with symbols that hurt their eyes to look upon. The thing smiled as they took it, a smile made of too many teeth. Full of dread for what they had seen and what they were about to do, they sailed for another month to get home. Things had gone badly in the time they were away. Soon they would have to surrender, and Ralston would fall into decline, one it was unlikely to survive. Whatever doubt the men had about using the knowledge in that book, their mind was set now. They cast its pages open and chanted dark incantations. And lo, did the dead walk upon the earth that night. Undead sailors hauled themselves into the Venetian boats. Soldiers dragged themselves from battlefields and clawed up from shallow graves to drive the Venetians from the land. The war was won. The Venetians could not fight Ralston's impossible numbers. They surrendered, the book was shut, and the dead were dead once more. The book was destroyed, but the world had noticed. Ralston had dark magic, and no shame in using it. Many enemies, without and within, were born that day. 1711. 3 years later, a child was born to one of the generals involved in unleashing the spell. A beautiful baby boy. A comet passed overhead that night, one that cycled between purple and green. Few saw it, but those that did walked away from their lives to explore more of the world before them. You were taken from your mother and left with a nursemaid for your first few days in this world. She was a kindly girl, from the town's poor quarters. While your paths crossed every few years, she has never reintroduced herself. Seeing you always cheers her up, and she is content with that. You were born into wealth and status, and had all you could wish for. But your parents never had another child, and your father was often preoccupied with his work. Your mother, distant, sickly and delirious, you heard another mother say. Hoffman, the family steward, raised you more than they. It was a lonely childhood. 1718. You are 8 years old. You play with friends from school, 2 poorer boys, Diedrich and Flip. Your father disapproves. You play in the graveyard outside the city. Nobody goes there without an armed guard. But children do not care for such things. Children are small and fast and can outrun Ghoul, at least when the sun is up. One day, as you play, you hear a rustling coming from some trees. You all freeze. Then a stone whizzes out of the green and hits you on the head. You stare in disbelief, a slow trickle of blood running down your face, partially blocking sight from your left eye. You scan the tree line and spot Sophia, a girl you recognize from school. She throws another stone at you, but you are ready and avoid it.
Stay still! I need you to bleed enough for a ghoul to sniff you out.
She calls out.
I want to see them hunt.
You'd want to be careful up there. My father says they hide in trees during the day to grab up any fools looking for a spot of shade.
In a panic, she dropped her stones and looked in the branches around her.
You're lying!
As soon as she said it, there was a screeching from another tree near her, and the branches moved.
One has caught your scent. You're done for now.
You called.
Rubbish!
She froze. The smile on your face dropped.
Why aren't you running? It's gonna get you!
She didn't move. The rustling and screeching grew nearer.
Run, Sophia! Run!
You screamed, hurting your lungs. Once she saw your worry, the colour drained from her face. She dropped down from the tree and ran crying back to the dead man's gate. That's when Flip dropped from the second tree. She had been too busy throwing stones at you to see him sneaking towards her. You, he, and Diedrich had a good laugh and returned soon to play. When you saw her next, she had realized the trick you'd played on her. She found it funny. Soon she began joining you and Flip and Diedrich in the graveyard, and fast became your fourth. That night you are woken by voices outside your window. You look out. You can see the graveyard, though you know it's normally on the other side of the house and too far away to see. In it, 2 people dig up a grave. Despite the distance and lack of light, you can make out the name on the tombstone. Your father's. One of the people stops. Then, and without moving their body in any way, they turn their head to look at you. You do not recognize them. They grin an unearthly grin at you, so eerie that it wakes you from your sleep. By morning, you have forgotten it all. Years later, you catch sight of yourself in a mirror, and the memory of this dream comes back to you as you suddenly realize that the face staring at you had been your own. The one you have now as an adult. 1721. One morning, your mother comes to your school. She takes you out, even though classes are not finished. She says everything is okay, but you do not believe her. It's her appearance that gives her away. She is normally so perfect, but her hair is out of place, her dress loose, her makeup faded. She brings you around the town. First you stop to buy sugared apples, then she takes you shopping. New clothes, new books, new toys, a luggage trunk. She brings you to the castle, and with some whispered words and coins exchanged, the guard lets you into the grounds. You go to the pond and throw bread and watch fish pop their heads up to steal from the ducks. You walk the city walls, and the two of you take in the view. The sea to the west, the hills to the south, the forest to the east and north, and beyond the northern tree line, the road that leads to the capital. That, she tells you through teary eyes, is where you're going. You won't understand until you're older. Maybe not even then. You need more than I can give you, more than I can be. You protest. She cries. When she stops crying, she doesn't remember where you are, how you got there. A watchman brings you home. There your father glares at you, angry that you upset your mother, angry at your non-compliance. Hoffman brings you to your room to help you put your new clothes and books and toys into your new trunk. He tells you that she loves you, that this is for the best. A few days later, your carriage rides out of town. In your children's stories, events like this happen on rainy days, but today is sunny and clear-skied. As the carriage crests a hill, you can look back towards the city and see it all. The farms, the walls, the groves, the castle, the seas. Your home. How do you feel as you are taken away? I hurt a deep wound of betrayal. My parents are supposed to look after me, not discard me. 1722. A year has passed. More quickly than you might have expected. Winter's first snow falls lightly outside. You watch from your dorm and reflect on your time here. You took to this new life quickly, making many friends. This place is filled with the unwanted children of powerful families. These connections will serve you well, as long as you learn to look the other way from time to time. 1725. Your schooling is done now. Your time here is over. You spent much of this year deciding what to do next. In the end, you decided to continue with education. You are unsure where this will lead you, but you wanted a life of experimentation and discovery. This was more important to you than riches. With your path decided, you found you had time before your training began, so you made the trip home to visit your parents and tell them of your plans. Your travel home feels faster than it was leaving. Perhaps mindset, perhaps age, Perhaps because you have done it once already and can spy milestones. Whatever the reason, you arrive home to your mother and Hoffman awaiting you. Your father is not there, but joins you for dinner that evening. It had been 4 years since you were home. Not a long time for some, but a quarter of your life. You had this idea that you had matured, changed so much in that time, but... You still find your father to be as inscrutable as ever. You try to engage the man, talk about his interests, your time away, and your chosen path, but you cannot tell if he is impressed, interested, or even paying attention. Despite this, it is good to be home again, to see your friends and family. You have a good summer. As you leave for your new training, you wonder how long until you come home next, and how you will have changed by then. 1727. You are nearly 2 years into your training now, and it goes largely as expected. You miss home, but the pangs grow less as time passes. One day, you learn that your class has been granted an audience with the great scientist Isaac Newton. When you enter his home in Hampshire, a young lady, his niece you later learn, brings you into the drawing room where he is having afternoon tea. A teacher and 11 students entered the room ahead of you, and you could hear the great man welcoming them. As you entered, you noted he no longer had the flowing white locks you'd seen in paintings. He was bald, and his skin was sunken. Still, he composed himself well as he greeted the others. Then he came to you. He looked at you a moment, eyes wide and mouth baring teeth. He pointed a bony finger at you and screeched,
Who is this with whom death walks? Why have you taken the Reaper to me? My time is not nigh, and I shall not go. Begone, herald of the Death Angel!
The old man continued to shriek at you, going so far as to throw tea at you. You left. A classmate told you he took some calming down before he would continue with the talk, and seemed hurried and distracted throughout. Word reached you a month later that Newton had died. It was peaceful, in his sleep, and said to be of natural complications in line with his deteriorating health. A few days later, a letter arrives telling you that a civil war of sorts has broken out in your homeland. A lich, a powerful undead sorcerer, has begun raising the dead and marches on the capital. So far, its armies show no sign of moving out of Ralston, but Venetian and Habsburg forces are amassing on their respective borders to repel anything that tries to cross them. You spend the next year following the news as it comes, conflicting reports in newspapers and the occasional letter from home. Eventually, word reaches you that the Lich has been defeated, that its forces collapsed as the final blow was struck. Your father was at that battle, as was your uncle. You learn your uncle was wounded, but is well. Neither man died, though the same cannot be said for thousands of others in the country. Many times you think of your terrible meeting with Newton. You read up on his other work, his alchemical and eschatological studies, his scouring of the Bible for clues to the nature of existence, and cannot help but wonder what he had read that led him to see your nation's struggle in your face before a word of it had reached you. 1729. Your training complete, you land your first post. An archaeological dig in Herculaneum hires you to help with the excavation. Herculaneum was buried alongside Pompeii when Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. Found by chance in 1709, groups had been going there to dig what they could from the ash. You expect it to be delicate, slow work, but the men who hired you dig tirelessly and aggressively. When they find anything, they call you. Is it of value? If yes, it is kept. If not, they hurl it aside. They are looters. You are a looter. I cannot believe I've been tricked like this. I help as little as possible, lying to them about the value of items. I hope to come back someday with a real team and properly excavate this place. 1731. You are through the early years of your career now. You have earned some recognition and accolades, some time from work, and a purse are made available to you. As you take some time to enjoy this leave, a terrible thing happens to you. A night on the town ends with your leg being severely damaged. You met with your friends, Elsa, Laszlo, and Astrid. The four of you went to the local tavern. It is a busy night, with music playing on the stage and entertainers going from table to table. A fire roared, a pig was roasted, devilment was in the air. Many drinks in, you met a couple, Heta and Jobst. They joined your group. You shared stories over beers. They were going to a party and invited you along. You decided to go, even though your friends were calling it a night. You, Heta, and Jobst wandered the streets drunkenly laughing, sharing a bottle of pumpkin seed liqueur you'd bought at the tavern. They brought you through an alleyway, a shortcut. They stopped and took out a bag of powder. Heta took a pinch and motioned to offer you some. As you grew near, she blew it in your face. Everything quickly became blurry, and then nothing. When you came to, you could not place where you were. Your head throbbed with a great pressure. You realized you were upside down, tied that way. You hung by your right ankle. Your left leg was tied behind your right one. Your knee bent at a 90-degree angle so your legs were perpendicular. Your arms were stretched out to your sides and folded back in at the elbow, then tied behind your back. You were tightly bound, unable to move. You could see out a window. You were high up. Inside the clock tower, you thought. There was movement around you. First, you heard Jobst speaking. No, not speaking. Chanting. A language you didn't know. You saw a figure walk before you. It wore a robe. You realized it was Heta when you saw the hair coming from her hood. She saw you were awake. Jobst? The chanting stopped. Another robed figure walked out before you. I am sorry, Jobst said, that this is happening to you. You seem nice. We had hoped to find a sacrifice we'd feel less guilty about. I guess it's not really a sacrifice if it's something you wanted rid of. He smiled. There was a kindness there that didn't sit well in the situation. The sun is coming up, Heta said. Jobst stood. Without saying anything else, they left. You wondered how long it would be until you would be found and let down. Then you smelled the smoke. A fire. They were burning the tower. A panic washed over you. How long until the flames spread and you burned? The smoke filled the room. You coughed. A bell sounded. Soon, the smoke began to die out. Somebody passing in the early hours had seen the fire and sounded the alarm. They were able to extinguish the flames before the fire could properly take hold. Soon you were found and cut down. You still bear a scar on your ankle. Heta and Jobst were never found. 1733. When you learned of your father's death, you were on a date. The main course had just been served when a courier came to you and delivered the letter. It had your family seal on it. You knew it was important. You excused yourself for a moment. You never returned to dinner. You did not go on a second date. Something changed in you then, and not for the better. I went numb. It seemed matter-of-fact to me. Of course he would die now, as my life gets going. It was very like him. I found myself thinking he had perhaps died now on purpose. A foolish thought. And yet, now, days later, your carriage crests the hills towards Mars, the sun blasting off the red and yellow bricks and rippling off the blue sea beyond. You are almost home. Home to see my mother, to support her in this terrible time.
One hour north from North Gate to Mars, my coach had been climbing a steep hill surrounded on all sides by oaks before the great forest gave way to farmland. And there we saw a young woman accosted by two brigands. My coachman called to me.
Should we stop, sir?
Yes, at once. Our coach put to a stop. Is everything okay here, my good lady?
Yes. Apart from this pair of fools annoying me.
He waved her hand at them, quite casually. The men hefted their weapons and one of them turned to me.
Stay out of this. It is none of your business.
Two men turned their spears toward me and my coachman leapt down with his sword drawn. The men turned and fled. The fight was not going their way. We let them go.
Thank you for helping me. I know you. You are the son of Zelig.
He shrugged, smiled sweetly, and straightened the garland in her hair. I nodded. She seemed about my age, but I did not recall her face from the past. Who are you?
Just a girl from the village yonder.
Looked slyly at me and waved her arm vaguely to the north, back down the hill, the way we came.
I was collecting herbs when they waylaid me.
My coachman eyed her suspiciously but said nothing. Who were those men? Surely Mars has not become so lawless.
The protection of the city is not there for all of us. And outside its walls, there are many men such as these.
This much of her words are true. In recent times, I never travel beyond the city without a weapon.
Were you not afraid? Your life seemed in danger.
It was not. Those men are fools.
Coachman scowled at her. Perhaps you would care to visit me at my mansion when I'm settled in? You seem like the feisty sort of lass who I could befriend. She looked amused for a moment, then gave a cryptic
I
answer.
think our paths shall cross right enough. Perhaps as allies. Though as friends, we shall see.
Be safe, then. You must be away, for my father's funeral awaits.
I am sorry. It is a sad day, and Lord Zelig was a good man.
I climbed back into my couch and glanced out to wave farewell, but in the place of the young woman stood an old hag, watching me. The shadows seemed to draw in around her, leaving her face indistinct.
Be wary. Vizierek dead the wolves are circling. The House of Van Eerstrik may have an important part in the future of the kingdom. Do not presume to know who your friends and enemies are.